All right, guys, we back for another episode of Chad's Official Podcast, broadcasting live from COP Studios here in Houston. I want to thank my sponsor, CMF Entertainment, here in Houston, Texas, where they have produced over 20 podcasts in South Texas, and we are glad to be part of the family. Also, I want to thank my subscribers that have really been great. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel, support, share, and like the videos. Now, we are getting ready to jump right in because this is one that is really juicy. Stephen A.Smith responding to Jason Whitlock is just, it's beautiful, okay? It's incredible. It's one that I really enjoy. I love beefs. And I love to when people can stand up and speak out on things that they disagree with or agree with. So here we have Stephen A. Smith. We're going to jump right into it and hear what he has to say.
There's a few things going on in the world of sports that need to be addressed. But on this particular day, they don't take precedent. Instead, one would be Aaron Rodgers and his situation with the Pat McAfee show. That's necessary to address because, after all, I'm an employee for ESPN. The other would be a fat bastard that has gotten away for far too long talking his bullshit. You wanted some? Fine. I'm happy to give it to you, you piece of shit. The Stephen A. Smith Show up next, right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you at the very least 3 times a week over the digital airwaves of YouTube. I am coming at you from our Los Angeles studios. I'm on the road, so obviously I won't be taking any phone calls today, but to be quite honest with you, I won't be taking any tweets either. I'm not in the mood. I just want to speak and I want to get out of here because I got better things to do with my time, but there's just certain things that are necessary to get into. Before I do that, let me once again thank you all for showing me a bunch of love that you're giving me. A little bit later on in the show, I almost never say his name, and that is the name of Jason Whitlock. He is a guy that has a show on Blaze TV. He is the person that I directly allude to as that fat bastard. He's a no good individual, probably the worst individual I've ever had the displeasure of ever being associated with in any capacity, and I will address him in just a few minutes. All I will say is that the things that I'm going to say, please don't hold anybody responsible for it other than me. Nobody. I even took the liberty of calling my pastor to apologize in advance for what I'm going to say about that no good bastard. So I will address that in just a few minutes, and I'm not engaging in hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating. The pastor's name is Pastor A.R. Bernard at Christian Cultural Center. You don't believe me? Call him and ask him. I don't lie like some other people I know do. Ladies and gentlemen, as a black man sitting in this seat, the level of vitriol that I have to absorb is something that I understand 99.99% of the time. You're a former player and you want to crucify me, that's fine. You're somebody that was involved in some kind of public incident that I had to speak on, whether you're the wife or ex-girlfriend or some of a former player or whatever, I get it. You're a present-day athlete and you don't like my evaluation of what has transpired before our very eyes and what I'm witnessing, that's cool. But I swear to you, on everything that I love, I'm a sports reporter and sports commentator. That is what I have been throughout my career. It is my responsibility to tell you what I see through my lens, how I feel about it, what my perspective is, etc. It's not like I'm sitting at home with absolutely nothing to do and no obligation to touch on anything, but I feel the need to invoke and ingratiate my thoughts, opinions, etc., upon the world. I actually get paid to do this. It is rare that I talk about myself on a personal level because my personal life is not anybody's business and I don't get into other people's personal life. It's not something that I do. Many figures in the world of sports find themselves in personal situations, not lawlessness, not unlawful things or anything like that, but there's plenty of situations, Michael, Sherry, Juvie, where I've seen certain things and I turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to it because it's none of my business. And I leave it alone. And one of the other things that I never do, I never attack my colleagues. I might disagree with something somebody says or does, and I might have an obligation to speak on it because it's in the news or whatever, but I don't speak against my colleagues. But I make a career out of talking about my colleagues. That ain't work. That's you finding some slick way to get a check because you can't get a job. Jason Whitlock. That's who the hell he is. Now, I have sat back for years, at least 9 to 10 years, saying absolutely nothing about this man. I never uttered the words fat bastard out of my mouth until a few months ago. So that means that the previous 9 years, you never heard me speak on him at all. But now it's necessary. Excuse me. Because you see, if you listen to the fat bastard, I didn't play high school ball. Even though my coach's name was Harvey Stoller, it was Thomas A. Edison Vocational and Technical High School. I played there my senior year. I was in a basketball tournament at Fashion Institute of Technology where I dropped 27 points and got a scholarship because the coach came calling me after that and what happened. If you listen to him, I never had a scholarship to Winston-Salem State, even though it's on the books. Just call the university. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an honorary doctorate member. I have an honorary doctorate from Winston-Salem State University because of my contributions to Winston-Salem State. I'm called Dr. Smith. Has something to also do with the contributions that I make because I believe about uplifting. I'm an ambassador for HBCU Week, and I've partnered with Ashley Christopher and Mir Persicki in Delaware and others to generate over 10,000 scholarships in excess of over $65 million in scholarships for African Americans. But this man will tell you I'm lying. He even went so far as to say my autobiography, where I talk about my mother, my father, my sisters, the business, my hiring and firing and rehiring at ESPN. I didn't write it. I didn't write my own memoir, which, by the way, is a New York Times bestseller, something he wouldn't know anything about, but he will tell you I didn't write it. He's seen my writing. Really? This article is an article written on Deadspin.com. The title, How Jason Whitlock is Poisoning ESPN's Black Grant Land. Because remember, Bill Simmons, who's now at Spotify doing a great job, obviously had Grant Land at ESPN, and upon his departure, Jason Whitlock was supposed to take up the mantle and create a black website for folks. This article was written by a Greg Howard, published on April 27th, 2015. The same Jason Whitlock that said he's seen my writing, the same Jason Whitlock that implied that I couldn't write, the same Jason Whitlock that said that I'm lying. One of the reasons would be because it's as in-depth as it gets about how scurrilous, how trifling, how despicable this man is.
And guys, just to be real quick, I'm not even a fan of Stephen A. Smith. I really don't like him. I don't like his approach. I don't like his analysis about sporting events. He's really not fair when it comes to the players and the way he analyzes and breaks down their performances and things like that. I really don't like him. Jason Whitlock, I have heard his podcast. I think he has a fairly intelligent conversation on his podcast. He's very conservative. Stephen A.Smith is more on the liberal side. So Jason Whitlock, again, he's definitely a conservative. He comes from a conservative perspective. So I see where these guys clash at. I do understand, and Stephen A. Smith feels disrespected in this particular stance that Jason Whitlock has taken, and he feels this. I mean, I get it. So he's speaking out, and I get it. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what is brewing, because there's some serious stuff brewing within ESPN right now. He mentioned one of the things right now, but there are some other things. I know a couple of things, and I'm telling you right now, you're going to be hearing, there's going to be some stuff coming out with some of the female correspondents and some of the female representatives on ESPN that's going to blow some people away.
While you were on Blaze TV, spewing that bullshit to people, did you tell them that? Did you tell them how you stood outside the first tape begging to talk to you? Did you tell them that once this same article in Deadspin came out, weeks later you wrote a lengthy apology to me in an email, begging me to forgive you, pointing out how you were betrayed by this particular writer, so you know how I must feel that you betrayed me? Did you tell the folks that, you bitch?
Woo!
Did you tell them? You fat piece of shit. Did you tell them that? Got the names. We got Jamel Hill. We got Howard Bryant. You want me to bring up the other writers that wouldn't work for you? Why it took you nearly 2 years to get an article out? Because you ran that shit so bad you were running it into the ground? What a disgrace you were to John Skipper, the former boss of ESPN, or the host of others. You want me to talk about that? Because I got receipts. I got the email. Want me to talk about that? Now, just for everybody that wants to understand, how could this possibly be? Because once upon a time, I actually tried to speak up for this damn cretin. I knew he was a piece of shit. But I said, look, maybe he's misunderstood. Why would I do that, ladies and gentlemen? Because sometimes as black folks, we get in our own way. We think that all of us must be of one monolithic thinking, that we need to be completely and totally aligned. And any deviation from that brings into question our quote-unquote blackness. Martin Luther King was a man of peace. Malcolm X was by any means necessary. They can't possibly be on the same page. Even though their agendas was for the upliftment and the preservation of our race of people. So I understand when we talk about stuff like this, how people can sit up there and say, how did it get to this? How did it get to this? Remember when I got suspended years ago? You know what's out there writing stuff, smiling in my face 1 minute, talking smack about me behind my back, and then ultimately writing it? It was him. Remember when I supposedly used and people were speculating that he used the N-word on the air and all of this other stuff? He was the first one out there trying to say that I did it. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't do it on the air, in my humble opinion. I'm telling you that. However, it's not like I didn't use the N-word when I was off the air, when I was talking to my fellas, or I was talking to other folks who happen to be black. I am not a proponent of using that word often, nor am I advocating that that word be used now. I'm just acknowledging the guilt that comes associated with me in terms of when I was younger.
Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share the video. I appreciate, again, all my subscribers, CMF Entertainment. Thank you very much. and we will continue to put out this content and be ready for the next one.
Everybody shining like new money. And ain't no other crew like this in the world, and never will be another.